Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to session 14 of Human Resource Management course. My dear students, we have discussed in the previous session about talent management. Talent, which is the integral and critical source for outcome, performance, achievement and organizational success in the organization. Now, this talent, when identified with the right kind of potential, the talent when identified with future roles as leadership, this talent needs to be properly engaged in the organization. Do we understand by the term engagement of employees in organization? Emotionally connected with the organization. He is not going to the organization for doing. Rather, he feels a connection which is cognitive, emotional. He goes an extra mile to do work for organization. He caters to the customer beyond the role assigned to him. He growth of organizational success. He attaches vision and mission. That is the point when we talk about that. And technically, the employee is very much connected and engaged in the organization. So let us explore this field of employee engagement, try to identify how it has relevant in organizational success, what are the functions and sub-parameters of employee engagement, what are the ways by which we can have engagement of employees in a better manner in organization. Let's proceed further. So this employee engagement, as I just explained, is the level of emotional, cognitive and behavioral commitment that an individual carries towards the organization. This concept was emerged in early 1990s and popularized by William Kahn, who described as the harnessing of organizational member self to the work role. So member self, that is the employee, connects with the organizational role. In 2008, McKay and Skinner proposed a multi-dimensional framework suggesting that employee engagement includes first the trait engagement, that is the personality-based tendencies, state engagement, that is the state of mind, momentary feelings of enthusiasm and involvement, behavioral engagement, that is the observable actions such as discretionary efforts of going beyond the duties. So together these perspectives highlight that engagement is a blend of three things. What are the three things? Think, feel and behave. So when employee from these three perspectives is committed towards the organization, so this is called the multidimensional approach, thinking, feeling and behaving for the organization, we say that engagement is at its highest level. Engagement matters because it is not only about employees feeling good, rather it drives business performance, employee well-being, retention, customer satisfaction, innovation. See the students, so many benefits of having employee engagement in organization. So it matters also because it is strongly associated with improved performance, well-being and organizational outcome. Why we say so? Because with employee engagement, the organization has an employee who is believing or working towards sustainability of organization, effectiveness, growth and development of organization altogether. So thus it is again a very important field to be taken care by the people who are in the field of human resource management. Now, since employee retention is another aspect which we shall be discussing in the forthcoming sessions, so research says that engagement strengthens the retention of the employee in organization at greater level. Then beyond internal benefits, engagement has a clear impact on customers also. So employees who are dedicated and absorbed in their roles are more likely to deliver exceptional service, fostering satisfaction and loyalty. Though employee engagement is a concept which is very valid for any kind of industry, but especially if we talk about the services industry, it has a premium importance there, because the employee, which is the internal customer, has to cater to the external customer, and this external customer, if is satisfied and happy, that makes him a repeat customer. A repeat customer then brings the organization to a greater levels of heights. So thus the internal customer's contribution is a very important aspect. So this is what it highlights here, that they deliver exceptional service when they are engaged in the organizational connect. Now, there are few key questions for research and practice in the area of employee engagement. So, the first question says that how should engagement be precisely defined and distinguished from related job concepts like job satisfaction, motivation, and commitment? So, many researchers will say, okay, these are also similar concepts, and how do we differ it from the engagement? Then, what are the main psychological, social, and organizational drivers at the place of work? How can engagement be accurately measured across different industries and cultures? So, measurement of engagement is also a question mark. Role of leadership styles and behaviors in employee engagement. What role does it play? And how does engagement affect the key outcomes such as performance of organization or innovation? Continuing the questions, what interventions or practices are more important to have a sustainable engagement in organization? How the kind of work which we call as in today's time remote and hybrid work affects the employee engagement? To what extent the generational differences shape engagement preference and expectation? What are the generational differences here? Like we have Gen Z, Gen Y, then we have Gen X, all working together at the same time. So these generational differences, they shape the preference and expectation of employee engagement. Of course, yes, each one of us have different life priorities. Generation X has different life priority. Generation Y has different life priority. Generation Z has different life priority. Since they differ in different life priorities, thus the engagement portfolios or engagement requirements and expectations will also be different for the different category of employees in organization. So how to bring a balance between them? It's a challenge. Then how should organization balance engagement initiatives that issues fairness, equity and inclusion also? So having a balanced employee engagement programs is a question mark. What are the long-term organizational impacts of high versus low engagement culture in the organization? So in the session, we would like to try to answer the questions we have just posed so as to have better insight about the employee engagement. So the lessons from the field includes the Kahn's lessons we discussed about bringing self into the role. Full use of physical, emotional and cognitive energy brings in employee engagement. So we have to use the physical reserve, the emotional reserve and the cognitive energy together. Conditions for engagement includes meaningfulness, that a work has a value for you, then only you will be engaged. There is no fear in the organization, you have a trust and you feel safe. Energy and resources availability is very high. So when all these three things, safety is very high, fear is very less, meaningfulness is high and resources are high. So these make conditions which are conducive to engagement. Then conditions for disengagement. In what scenarios employee will be disengaged? So if there is lack of meaning, lack of safety and lack of availability of resources, so this is reverse of what we have just discussed, then the employee will feel disengaged in the organization. So the comprehensive framework of engagement says that it is shaped by antecedents, operates as a mediator and leads to key outcome for both employee and the organization. The framework includes first point, which is antecedents, second is the mediators and third are the outcomes. What are the antecedents? Antecedents means the job, resources, autonomy, feedback, personal resources, that is self-efficacy and resilience level, which promotes the engagement. So these are the factors which promote the engagement. Example, Nurses with autonomy and adequate staffing show higher engagement in the organization. Second is mediators. So engagement itself, that is the dedication, vigor and absorption, translates resources into positive behavior. So what is a mediator here? Engagement itself is the mediator. And what are the factors here? Factors like autonomy, support, self-efficacy, resilience are the factors. When these factors are mediated by engagement, they come up with positive behaviors. So example here is engaged employees proactively suggest the improvement. So what do we mean by proactively suggesting the improvement? Here the employee doesn't wait for the employer to come up and tell them that these are the bottlenecks or challenges which are coming up in the system, processes or functioning of organization. Rather, the employee anticipates himself beforehand what can be the challenges and problems, and proactively they come up with the solutions to those problems, recommend those solutions, or maybe they implement them also with the permission from the superiors. So this is one of the examples showcasing that employee engagement is highly practiced. Then the third point is outcomes. Engagement predicts the performance. Performance, how is it measured? It is measured in the form of customer satisfaction, productivity of employee, job satisfaction, reduced stress and well-being of the employee. If these conditions are ideally present in the organization, then we say that engagement has been achieved. Example, service firms with engaged staff report higher customer loyalty. Now this is very important. As I mentioned that in the service industry, employee engagement is a premium critical factor, and it mentions also as an outcome, it is shown that there is reduced stress of employees, high customer loyalty and customer satisfaction, which is because of right kind of engagement at the place of the work. Now talking about the job attitude and the A factor, which also contributes towards employee engagement. So job attitudes reflect how employees evaluate their work. Do they include satisfaction, commitment and engagement at the place of work? So the key dimensions here are, they are shaped by three elements: affective, that is feeling; cognitive, that is thought; and behavior, that is action. So through their attitudes show what kind of feelings, thoughts and actions they are depicting for the organization. The A factor highlights the emotional side of the job attitude. It captures how strongly employees feel attached to their job and the organization, because here only the main deciding factor is the strength. Why am I writing strength here? This strongly term, strongly. Employees feel attached to the, so strength of attachment to the place of work is an important deciding factor. Impact is that a strong A factor drives motivation, loyalty and better performance. So we wish to convey here that the job attitudes and A factor, their level, their strength also plays an important role in the outcomes. If A factor is strong, if the attitudes are positive with respect to feeling, thoughts and cognitive abilities and connection with the organization, then we have highly engaged employee in organization. Then how motivation and commitment contributes towards employee engagement. So motivation is research focuses on what drives individuals to act and sustain the effort. In the previous sessions, we have discussed about human motivation at the motivation of human resources at the place of work, where we discussed various theories, need-based and process-based theories. So what these theories were highlighting, the theories were focusing on if the right kind of need is met or identified properly by the manager or the organization, the result is higher level of motivation. Thus, what we wish to say here, if an employee is highly motivated, he is then eventually into a high engagement scenario with the organization. Then comes commitment. So commitment, here the research examines that employee attachment to their organization is his commitment. It includes any kind of emotional bond if he has, perceived obligations if they carry, and the cost of living they have there in their mind. So just think of it, that why are you at a place of work where you are working? Is it because you fear that if I leave this place, I will not get any other job? Or you fear that if I stay here and I am working, I have a feeling that I will get a growth, which is the emotional bond? Or perceived obligation means that I got this job or my seniors did some favor to me, so I am here in that place of work to return that favor to them. So what is the reason you are in the place of work? Because of commitment, because of obligation, or because of cost of living? So if it is because of obligation and cost of living, you do not have a commitment with the place of work. Commitment is only when you have an emotional bond, and this emotional bond eventually will be transformed into employee engagement. Then link to engagement from both. I have already explained to you students that commitment and motivation are the precursors to engagement. So precursors, what does precursor mean? Precursor means that when employee motivation is high, commitment is high, employee engagement is automatically achieved. So how engagement is a motivational construct? Construct here means the variable contributing to the engagement. How motivation plays a role for engagement? So as we know that how employees they bring energy, focus and effort into their work roles. And who is motivating? For whom are we talking about the motivation scenario? For the employee only. So unlike general job satisfaction, engagement emphasizes active motivation seen through energy, commitment and deep involvement. These three things are mandatory requirement if we want engagement to achieve. And here framing engagement as motivation shows its role in sustaining performance, enhancing resilience, improving employee well-being. So engagement as a motivational construct definitely suggests that if an employee is deeply involved, highly connected with the organization and showing high energy levels, that means he is engaged well and is motivated to work in the organization. Now, measuring change in engagement is an important aspect, which says that engagement is a dynamic process, but most measures capture only single point in time. So tracking change requirements, repeated assessment is a need by which we can identify if there is any change in level of engagement or not. So measurement of change at different time zones or at different levels. So longitudinal study needs to be done because of the dynamic nature of the environment. So as it says, longitudinal surveys show trend across the months or years, how the change is coming in the engagement pattern. Pulse surveys can be done to capture frequent updates, and experience sampling can record daily or weekly fluctuations in the engagement level. So what are we trying to find here? We are trying to find here about the engagement levels. And how do we measure it? We measure with the help of these techniques. So measuring change reveals whether engagement is stable, growing or fading. This measurement will help us find this outcome. And it also links variation to leadership, job design and major organizational event if it is taking place. We may say that when we measured, we realized that the engagement level is growing. Okay. So growing because leadership has changed just now, leadership philosophy has changed. It's fading because maybe some organizational event took place. It's stable because of the job design. So these are the factors which may contribute to the level of engagement in the organization. By this approach, it helps the manager to design timely interventions, any kind of phenomena they have to introduce, and researcher test how engagement evolves over the time. So measuring change in engagement is both beneficial for the practitioners as well as for the academicians. Academicians or researchers, they get a data on how engagement is fluctuating or changing, and the industry people, they get to know that how far the engagement level is distorting and what are the factors behind it. Then comes job demands and resources as antecedents for the engagement. So job demands like high workload, pressure or role conflict, it drains the employee's energy, can lead to stress and burnout. So is it the job demand because of which engagement declines? Is it the job resource? That is whether there is autonomy, feedback, supportive leadership, development opportunities available or not. Is it because of which engagement is declining? So which factor is catering? What factor is the antecedent to employee engagement decline or increase? JDR model, that is job demand resources model, explains that while demands exhaust the employee, resources foster the engagement, and balance between the two is the key. So this job demand and resource model is suggesting that there has to be a balance between job demands and resources. Demands and control support model includes core idea, that is demand control support model explains how job design shapes stress and engagement in the organization. So here the first factor we have identified is job design. Demands, that is high workload or pressure that can create a strain. Control, having autonomy or decision making power, helps employee handle demands effectively. Therein, if control is low, that is we have low autonomy, in that case employee cannot handle the demands well. Support is strong support. So support can be low, support can be strong support. Similarly, as control can be low or high, from supervisors, the colleagues provide resources and encouragement. If the support is low, then no colleague will provide any resource or encouragement. So what this model says, it says that if the demand and the control and the support, these three are in line with each other, that is, if the demand or workload is such that it is not creating any strain, this is the ideal condition. The control is high autonomy and the support is resources available. In these three conditions, we can think of having engagement is at its highest. Then how to engage the middle managers? That is also a point that to ponder upon. So they are the key drivers of any team engagement. So we can give them resources, we give them autonomy, we give them right kind of open and clear communication. As a result, their morale and commitment is high and thus employee engagement is higher. So students, right now what we are studying, we are trying to highlight what are the various factors, ways and means by which we can have engagement as higher. These factors either directly affect the engagement or indirectly affect the engagement. Then let us discuss something about the connection between leadership and engagement. Does leadership play any role in engaging the employee? As we know, there are multiple categories of leaders. Amongst those, one of the major famous leadership style is transactional leader or transformational leader. So whether the style of leadership or kind of leadership play any role in engagement level of the employees or not. Let's answer this question. So it says transformational leader, transformational leader. The term itself suggests that what is transformation? Transformation is bringing in change. So someone who's ready for innovation and change, he builds the meaning and motivates the employees. He also goes beyond the expectation of the organization and employees. So an example here can be a CEO uniting staff around sustainability mission and boosting pride and energy. So what he is creating a happy team, that is with a good interpersonal relationship. Empowering leadership gives autonomy, shares decision making and builds the confidence. And by that, a manager delegating project choices leading to higher creativity and engagement. So you can also see empowering leadership is also a positive concept for employee engagement. Transformational leadership is also a positive concept for employee engagement. So both the styles show that leadership behaviors directly shape how motivated and engagement employees feel. So here we answered the question whether leadership plays a role in engagement or not. Yes, it does play a role. And what are the benefits? We have just now seen high level of commitment and contribution by the employee. Now, does trust play any role in employee engagement? What is your take on it, students? Here, the core idea is that trust is the foundation of lasting engagement in the organization. Which trust are we talking about? We are talking the trust between the management, of the organization and the employee, between the superior and the subordinate. So this trust and between the team members. When this trust is present, the result is whether employee engagement is high or not. Let us see this. So when leaders act with integrity and fairness, employees feel safe to invest themselves fully. So here management and supervisor both are giving a positive vibrations by having a fairness and integrity in the work, which is disseminated to the subordinates and they feel safe at the place of work. With respect to organization, transparent policies, consistent practices and ethical behavior, they give collective trust. They build a collective trust. So you can see in both the scenarios, at all levels, the trust is high. And when trust is high, see the impact. When trust is high, what are the outcomes? Loyalty, motivation and resilience. And this is very important during the change or challenges time. Because what happens? One, employee engagement is that employee is working with wholeheartedness and delivering his best. The second, employee engagement is tested during the challenging times when there is any change or when there are any challenges in organization or organization is facing any challenges. So at this point in time, what is the important factor that comes into picture is the level of trust organization has over employees and employees they have over the organization. This is the testing time, and if engagement is correct, then the employees and the organization, they sail through the challenging times easily. Now coming on to employee voice and organization conditions. Does that play any role? Let us answer this. So employee voice means sharing ideas, concerns and feedback that drives the engagement. If employee is silent, then by contrast, it lowers the trust and motivation. So if employee is, what does the silence term means? That employee is not sharing his or her ideas. If employee is not doing so, so that means employee is not engaged well and there is some trouble between the relationships at the place of work. So positive example is a company inviting staff suggestions on process improvements, increases ownership and energy. If this practice is done in organization, it is a positive condition for employee engagement as it enhances ownership and energy. Negative example is when managers ignore the feedback on workload issues, employees withdraw and disengage. So here we see that engagement can be greater if the employee feel that their voice is mattered. So along with leadership, motivation level and the voice of the employee, we can see that these factors very closely contribute to employee engagement. Students, you must keep note of all these factors that we are discussing so that you can have a crisp summary of what are the pointers you have to take into consideration when you are at a role of a manager. Now, what are the key drivers? So, we have identified that leadership, resources and recognition of the employee are strongly related to employee engagement and they can predict the engagement. I just now told you that the different factors which are contributing to engagement. So here, how we can identify challenges which are there to identify the engagement level includes challenges with survey design, overlap constructs and isolating causes and correlations. In a case study, a global firm found that recognition and career development, not pay, were the strongest engagement drivers. This guided targeted HR initiatives. So here you can see that pay or the compensation is not only the driver, rather recognition and career development were the bigger driver for employee engagement, because every employee who joins any organization will definitely get some or other salary. I mean, nobody will work for free. So they are getting the salary for the job anyways in any organization they join. But they would like to be engaged in the organization which gives them recognition and which is taking care of their well-being. So that is why career development and recognition is the key parameters here. Now, does personality play any role in engagement of the employee? So, individuals' traits. What is personality? Personality is the sum total of the ways in which we react and interact with the external environment or the environment surrounding us. And what reacts and interacts with the environment surrounding us is our own traits. So, we have to see that whether traits shape how employees respond to work environment demands or not. What are the traits we are talking about? Openness. So, openness is, are you ready for innovation and change? So, example is, a designer thrives when asked to test bold new ideas. So, he is happy because we as an openness is that I am also ready for innovative and change ideas, and this is my personality type. So, I will be happy if the platform is given to me. Then comes consciousness. So, organized, responsible people show steady engagement through reliability. Example here is, a project manager ensures deadlines are met with consistent focus. So, this is also a personality trait. Then resilience is a personality trait. What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to quickly come out of any of the challenging situation. For example, resilience is supposed to be very high with the sports people. When they run or when they are on the sports ground, if they fall down, and the moment how quickly they stand up and start running is their resilience power. So same resilience is required for business people, for employees also. If you are fall trapped into any situation which is not very congenial from the business point of view or organization point of view, or not healthy for organization, how quickly you come out of it and find a solution to resolve it is your resilience level. So it says that how employees bounce back from setbacks and stay engaged in the organization. So a sales representative maintains energy after rejections and pushes from new leads. He still maintains the energy if he made a cold call to 100 people and he realizes that out of 100, 95 have rejected. He doesn't get dejected out of it. Rather, he keeps trying for the next 5 and he may, convert that lead. So next, let us talk about the insight from these traits. So here, personality acts as a moderator in strengthening and weakening the impact of workplace factors at the engagement. So the answer to the question that we just posed, that does personality play any role in engagement? So answer is yes, it does play a role. It plays a role of a moderator. Then emotional intelligence and self-evaluation. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the sum total of the ways in which we understand our own emotions and the emotions of people who are surrounded by us. So if we talk about from the organizational perspective, for the people who are in the organization surrounding us. So emotionally intelligent people are the ones who take decisions keeping these emotions in mind. They don't fall trap of the emotions, rather they value the emotions, and then based on that they take a more rational decision that gives ease to both the subordinate and the supervisor. So it is the ability to understand and manage the emotions which boost teamwork, trust and motivation. For example, a leader calming tensions during conflict keeps the team engaged and focused. So this is a emotionally intelligent leader. Self-evaluation is how employees see their own competence and worth influences confidence at the work. How you see, how employee sees their own self, their competence and their worth. So an employee with high self-belief takes initiative on new projects and shows stronger engagement. If you have high self-belief, then only you can take an initiative. I think that's a very common phenomenon students we know. We only dash into the job where we are confident about. Okay, so if you have to catch a bus, you know that I am confident I can step up inside the bus, I can go alone, then only you take that initiative. Otherwise, you will ask your parents to join and accompany you to go to a particular place. So that means the focus here is, what do you think about yourself? If the employee thinks that he has that strength, he takes the initiative. And if the employee has high emotional intelligence, he moves ahead and manages the emotions. So now let us see how these two are related to engagement. So it says that both EI and positive self-evaluation helps employees invest energy, handle challenges and stay committed. So stay committed means high employee engagement. So emotional intelligence and self-evaluation are also two predictors of employee engagement. Then mindsets and some practical interventions. Growth versus fixed mindset. So what is a growth mindset? Where an individual feels that I have the ability, I have the capability, and I can foster learning and persistence in the workplace. Fixed mindset is where the abilities are static. Now he feels that I have limited knowledge, I cannot go beyond this. This reduces motivation and risk-taking ability. So risk-taking ability also is low, motivation is also low. Here learning is high, persistence is high. So what is the mindset of an individual? Thus we can say that impact of this mindset on engagement is that growth mindset employee embraces the challenge, and while fixed mindset people, they withdraw and they have low effort. So what to do? What to do to improve this mindset of the individuals, that from the static mindset or fixed mindset individuals go into a growth mindset? We can give them training on learning and adaptability. We can give them feedback which is focused on efforts and improvement, that what efforts are required to be made at your part and how you can improve, and the role models who share learning journeys. So here we call it as heroic stories. These heroic stories also boost the, or you can say the changes the mindset of the employees. So example here is a tech firm introduced failure sharing session. Such a beautiful term it is mentioning here. Failure sharing session, which help the staff see mistakes as learning opportunities and boosting innovation and engagement. How wonderful would it be, students, for you also, if your teachers ask you that please share the failures that you have gone through, or while you write your exam, you could not score well. You realize that in certain questions I have performed as a failure. When you share that with an experienced, knowledgeable individual, he will only give you guidance on how to improve. And that is the road to success. So the key takeaway is, road to success is identifying the reasons for the failure and working towards it. Now, job crafting and engagement, does it have any relationship? A question mark to it. My dear students, you will let me know whether there is any relationship between the two or not. Now, what is job crafting? You know what is craft? You have done crafting during your childhood. But you used to do from the glaze paper, from buntings, from chart papers, etc. You used to make very beautiful flowers or paintings or some kind of other artifacts. So you were crafting things, you know. When you go to a tailor with a fabric, what does the tailor do? Tailor does not change the look and feel of the fabric, does it? Tailor never changes the color of fabric. Tailor never changes the texture of the fabric. What does tailor do? Tailor only crafts that particular piece of cloth in the dimension you want to fit in. Otherwise, you can also wrap around that cloth. There is not an issue. But if you are not ready to wrap around like that and you want to present yourself in a different, decent manner, then you ask the tailor to craft it for yourself. So this is crafting, which is applied at the job level also. And how it is applied at the job level? In the job, employees make a tailor-made task responsibilities for themselves when it comes to working. This gives them power, autonomy, and a sense of feeling that they have decision-making power with them. They are empowered in organization. They feel more committed towards the organization. Let us see how it is projected here. So job crafting is when an employee proactively reshapes their task, relationships, and approach to make work more meaningful. Thus, what we can do job crafting by task crafting, changing how task is done or adding new ones. So if you are doing a task of a financial accounting, okay, you are an accountant. So if you wish to change the task itself or the way it is done, that is called as task crafting. Second is called as rational crafting, where we build the strong connections at the work. So relational crafting. So relational crafting is where we build the stronger connections at the work, having higher interpersonal connections. These interpersonal connections help us to give a good guidance and path for future endeavors. Then third is cognitive crafting, reframing how work is viewed. So you change the view of the work, the perception about the work. When these three kinds of craftings are done, for example, a nurse spending extra time with patients to build care relationship. What is this example? This example is of relational crafting. She is crafting her job to maintain the relationship. An engineer taking on creative side projects to boost the motivation. So this can be the task crafting. Now, what is the output of it? It says that job crafting empowers the employees, enhances more fit with the organization, and drives the engagement. So students, we have got one more factor which adds on to the engagement of the employees. Now, the states in which the employee is and the regulations in the organization, how do they contribute to engagement? Here the core idea is managing emotions, that is affect regulations, help employees stay energized and engaged. How? When the positive mood is there, with good mood boost creativity, resilience, willingness to collaborate, etc. So example, celebrating small wins lifts the team spirit and energy. It builds a positive connect between the individuals. And any kind of breaks or detachment after the work and relaxation restore resources. Here the example is an employee recharges through exercise, returning more focused. So both the concepts then give sustainable engagement through positive emotions at work and effective recovery outside it. So we want both the things. We want that the emotions should be very positive at work and the recovery outside the work is very important. Now, if there is some fluctuating engagement, so what are the benefits of having it? Fluctuation in engagement is not meant to stay consistently high. It naturally rises and falls. As we all cannot have a consistent mood. Can we have consistent mood? No, not possible. So similarly, the engagement of employee is also not consistent. It can have variations in it. Are there any benefits of having these fluctuations in engagement? So it says moderate amount of ups and downs, which are very normal fluctuations. They are required to sustain the energy and recover. When constant high engagement is there, that is always being highly engagement, can lead to outcomes like exhaustion, stress, and eventual burnout, which are negative factors to engagement. So we should avoid having a constant high engagement, rather moderate up and down level of engagement is important. So periods of intensity followed by recovery is required or a prerequisite for having good engagement. Now, there is a concept of workaholism and work engagement. Let us see how they are different from each other and how do they contribute to engagement. So when you have a positive, fulfilling state marked by vigor, dedication, and absorption, we say that you are work engaged. A teacher energized by inspiring students. This is a very, very important example, students. Right now, we cannot see each other, you and me, but still behind the camera, I am sure you are enthusiastically listening. So thus that is giving an energy level, which is work engagement. So you are engaged in the work in a manner that you feel that you are highly engaged with the organization also. Workaholism is compulsive drive to work excessively, often with guilt if not working. So that's also part of your state of mind, where a manager is staying late every night, neglecting health and family. So this is linked with stress, burnout, and poor work-life balance, while work engagement is linked with high performance, well-being, and lower turnover. So here, students, I am sure you must have understood the difference between workaholism and work engagement. You should be work engaged, but you should not be a workaholic, because workaholic eventually, maybe initially you are highly engaged and you are working, but its aftermaths will cater to low engagement, low motivation, and probably some health hazards also. Now, the flow, motivation and creativity, does it play any role in engagement? So, concept of flow is the state of deep focus where work feels enjoyable and effortless. So, when people feel that we are enjoying the work and we are doing the work effortlessly, that can be a positive sign for employee engagement. So, flow arises from intrinsic motivation. It adds on to creativity and sustained engagement. We all must take up jobs which give us a natural flow to work. Example, a coder losing track of time while solving a complex problem. So, he's so much lost in his job that he lost the track of the time. An artist fully immersed in painting, generating new ideas. A scientist absorbed in experiments, discovering new innovative solutions. So, flow shows how meaningful, challenging work can spark both creativity and engagement. So, thus we can say flow is also one of the major contributors of engagement. Then coming on to HR strategy and engagement, is there any link? So, yes, strategic HR aligns policies and practices with culture. Alignment with practices like recruitment, reward, training, performance systems should be reinforced, which can add on to commitment and growth on the part of employees. I think you know this by now. So we can quickly go to the example, a tech firm linking training programs for innovative goals, boosting engagement through skill growth. A retail chain designing recognition system that celebrates teamwork, strengthening engagement, culture, etc. So what we can conclude out of it, that HR systems and culture, when they align well, they add on to the engagement in the organization. Now, there is a concept which is called as organizational socialization. What is socialization? It is networking, knowing people around, knowing people in the organization. So, this socialization is generally done during the orientation or inductive training program, where the new joinees get to know about people who are working in organization, their levels, their positions, and their profiles. At this point in time, how does it help in engagement? Students, can you comment on it? Whether socialization helps in engagement or not? On the face of it, it looks like yes, it does contribute to engagement, because when people meet and greet others in organization who are similar minded or who can give them some guidance and mentorship, that gives a kind of good motivation to be in organization and contribute towards it. So let us see. So clear expectations, support and culture sharing build trust and commitment in the employee, as I just mentioned, and thus the engagement is higher. So example is a hospital assigning mentors to new nurses, boosting confidence and engagement. A tech firm using team building workshop so that new recruitments, they feel included and motivated. Both have a positive impact on employee engagement. So, strong onboarding creates lasting engagement by connecting employees to their role and organization. Now, workplace empowerment in nursing here. Here, nursing means mentorship. Nursing means nurturing. So, engaged nurses are critical for organizational performance, patient outcome, and workforce stability. Predictors are granting decision-making authority, increases accountability, fairness and transparent policies can build trust, and resources of adequate staffing given can add on to sustained performance and reduction in stress. So thus, ensuring empowerment, fairness and resources can add on to engagement in the organization. Now, engaged work teams do what? They go beyond individual. They have high trust and energy levels. So confidence in each other, reliability is there, open communication and mutual trust, and alignment around purpose and outcome of organization is or are the contributing factors to engaged work teams. Example, a surgical team synchronizing seamlessly during an operation. You must have seen through the social media or through television that when any operation takes place, all the members who are carrying out the operation, they work as a synchronized team with each other. So this is the example of having a collaboration, trust between each other, where they understand each other's role play and thus they support. A startup team co-creating a product vision, sparking collective enthusiasm. So here we can see that team engagement fosters psychological safety, clarify goals and adds on to group achievements, leading to engagement of the employees. High engagement team and the role of leadership in highly engaging them. So senior leaders, do they have any role in engaging the employee? They set the tone for the engagement. Yes, they do have a very big role, as the senior leaders set the tone of the engagement. Challenge here is to build consistently high engaged teams in difficult, large, diverse and complex organizations. This is the challenge for a leader. So example of first leader is Satya Nadella. Microsoft shifted culture towards growth mindset, which enhanced engagement and enhanced innovation. Then Howard Schultz, Starbucks, he emphasized on employee care, benefits and recognition, which led to high engagement culture. So what is the outcome and gain from this? Outcome and gain is that when leaders, they have vision and culture alignment, it leads to high engagement in the organization. Now let's have an insight on developing a global model for engagement. Can we do so? Can we have a model which can be replicated at different cultures? So engagement research is extended across cultures and industries, showing universal and unique drivers. Now this is an important aspect, students. The engagement research help us understand that there are drivers or factors which we have just now studied in past 30-40 minutes, that what are different types of factors which contribute to engagement. So researchers suggest that these factors are universally applicable, and these factors have they are the unique drivers for engagement. So core elements is that every factor must contribute to the vigor, desiccation and absorption. If that is done across the worldwide, which the research suggests, yes, it is done across the worldwide, they become the bigger predictors of engagement. So in IBM global study, it found recognition and career growth predict the employee engagement. Healthcare case, nurse engagement in Asia emphasized fairness and resource allocation. So that means this is one of the greater or important driver, and this is also an important driver, and these two together are the drivers for global model of engagement. Let's throw some insight on cultural perspective on engagement. Does culture play any role on engagement? Because we know that every country has different cultures. Now, not only country, within a country, even different states may have different cultures. What exactly is a culture? It is a value, a belief, an ideology that particular place follows. So, for example, in your college or university, if everyone has to be on time, otherwise there is a strict detention, that punctuality and discipline is the culture or the value that that place follows. So does that culture aspect play any role in engagement? Let us discuss. So it says that the collectivist culture, which is engagement shaped by group harmony, loyalty and shared responsibility. These are the characteristics of the collectivist culture. People are loyal to each other, they share responsibility and group harmony. So example here is in China, employees stay engaged through teamwork and collective goals. Thus, we can say collective culture contributes to employee engagement. While in individualistic culture, engagement is linked to autonomy, personal growth and individual recognition. So in US, career advancement and rewards drive the engagement. So we have an example of two different cultures. So while engagement is universal, its drivers may differ, they can be collective or they can be individual achievement also. It is then we can say that not exactly a particular culture, but the kind of dimension they contribute for employee engagement is more important. Like in the first case where the collective culture we discussed in a country, it is engaging people with teamwork and collective goals. And while in the individualistic culture, they are making people engage through career advancement and reward driving engagement. So that means the factor is more important than the kind of culture. Now, what happens when in organization employee engagement is at the peak? So this is towards, conclusive part of today's discussion, that we have discussed lot of drivers which contribute to employee engagement. So what happens to the organization? I'll tell you, students, the performance is high, retention is high, organization growth and success is high. trust is very high in the organization, market share increases, and the financial gains are there. So that means, and above all, the customer loyalty is also there. So what are the important outcomes? Job performance, retention, innovation, and customer loyalty that we get when we have high employee engagement. Thus, we can say that organization success is because of high employee engagement. Now, the positive behaviors that engagement fosters includes engaged employee take initiative, they go beyond the formal rules, organizational citizenship behavior is seen in them. So, what is organizational citizenship behavior? It means that you are committed to the place of work as you are committed to your place of living. You are born in a country, you are citizens of that place, and you feel high amount of passion, love, affection, and commitment towards your motherland. The same kind of feeling of passion and commitment should be for the organization. And here studies are suggesting that if employee is engaged well, he has high OCB and high trust, which are bigger gains for the organization with respect to employee engagement. Now, let's have a little bit discussion on how we can have improvement in engagement strategies. So, the first improvement can be with the help of job redesigning. So, here an example is a hospital expands nurses' role to include patient education, increasing the ownership. Here, the nurses will feel that we have got some more autonomy and ownership. So, this is job redesigning. Second is with the help of organizational climate. So, example can be a tech firm fostering psychological safety encourages the risk-taking and innovation ability of the individuals. So, this is how we can improve on engagement strategies. And the third one is leadership. The more supportive and empowering leader, highly committed will be the employee. Example can be a manager who recognizes contribution and shares decision making strengthens the engagement of the employee. So we can say that engagement grows when jobs, leaders, and culture they align to support the employees. So students, let us see how team climate is important for engagement. We just now saw how leadership and other factors are important. So team has shared resources. Team if has high trust. For shared resources, example, an R&D team uses shared digital platforms to co-create the solutions. For trust, when there is a confidence in colleagues like healthcare teams trusting each other during critical procedures. Psychological safety is freedom to speak up without any fear to your team members, like a software team openly discussing errors to improve the process. So what we have seen, if the team climate has high shared resources, high trust and high psychological safety, then we can have high engagement in the employees. Coming on to some cross-cultural comparisons, so we can say that core engagement dimensions like vigor, dedication and absorption, they hold across the cultures, and if positively taken, then they can add on to the engagement. While local adaptations, predictors and expression of engagement differ by the context, which we discussed in the collectivist and individualistic culture example. It shows that the local adaptations also contribute towards the engagement. So, insight, the learning here is that engagement measurement is globally valid, but effective interventions are required for cultural sensitivity. How engagement is related to employee well-being? So, here we can quickly see that examples include employees taking regular breaks to recharge during long shifts. So that means they are engaged well, they are happy. Professionals practicing detachment after work through family time and hobbies. This is a positive practice. And organizations offering wellness programs that support rest and recovery is another example of that employee well-being is well taken care by the organization, and thus the employees are engaged well in the organization. Engagement also fosters innovation and productivity through their more focused approach on problem solving and work efficiently and deliver high quality results. These are the outputs when employee is engaged well. What can be the best practices in building engagement? We should have clear and open communication in the organization. The employee's efforts should be properly recognized and rewarded, and fairness in the procedural and distributive justice of resources and any kind of awards if given then. So students, this is the discussion on employee engagement that we have done just now with the help of these particular books which I have referred for preparing the session on employee engagement. I request you to go through these handbooks and have your more insight on it. And I'm sure you have understood the various factors which contribute to employee engagement and what can be the best practices to enhance employee engagement in the organization. You must have also understood the criticality of employee engagement as a phenomenon or a concept in organizational success. This is all from my side. Thank you all for listening.